Hello and welcome to the TMC Newsroom. My name is Rich Tehrani. Thanks for watching us. We're in California this week speaking with some of the best and brightest companies in this space. And on our program is Dave Jollota, the President and CEO of QualityLogic. Dave, welcome to the show. How are you?
Fine, Rich. Thank you very much for having me.
So your company's in the testing space, but could you give us more on just an overview of what you do?
Sure. We're a 25-year-old company that's been developing products and services for primarily consumer electronics and telecom spaces to help ensure interoperability of devices, make sure they work together. And we started getting involved in the smart grid space about 3 years ago. Connected with a regional demonstration project in the Pacific Northwest in 2009 and started looking at other protocols since then that we think are going to be important to make sure devices on the grid can talk to one another.
And what sorts of changes have there been in the smart grid space in the last few years?
Well, for us, it's a pretty new space in that we've only been involved for about 3 years, but I think the biggest attraction to us is that companies are starting to look at standardized protocols. So historically, utilities have kind of done their own proprietary thing, and with the guidance from the federal government and so forth, I think they're finally starting to look at standardized protocols so that someday you and I will be able to walk into Best Buy and grab a device that can get consumption data off of our thermostat and pricing data, and it will plug and play in the same way that our laptop does to our router at home.
Okay, so that's really turning the smart grid into something similar to what we might see in the networking space, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And to us, it's all about getting information to consumers. And there's a variety of different protocols and devices that might do that. But if we can get information to consumers about how much energy costs at a given time so they can make good decisions about, should I run the dishwasher now when it's $5 or wait 3 hours when it's $1, I think most consumers will be able to, will make the decision that we think they're going to make, and again, our role is making sure that the protocols that are going to be used to communicate that information to consumers are implemented properly.
Or even just a smart window, right, where you just set it for 8 hours or 12 hours, and the dishwasher just goes on whenever it senses it's the best time, right?
Absolutely. I think in the short term it might be consumers making the decision, but sure, people will be able to program their devices to say that when my energy is within this range, go ahead and run the dishwasher, and when it's not, go ahead and wait until it hits that range. And we're in a pretty unique position because we got 3 projects right now. One is sending incentive signals from energy wholesalers to retailers. The Open ADR project, which we just announced, is from utilities to large commercial and industrial buildings, and we're working on Smart Energy Profile 2.0, which is more from utilities to consumers. So we're kind of looking at price signals spanning the grid all the way from wholesalers down to the consumer.
Very exciting stuff, isn't
it really is.
So did the government spending in this smart grid space, the investment, is that a long-term boost? Was it a short-term boost? What do you think?
Oh, I think for us it was probably somewhere in the middle. The project we're on with the Pacific Northwest is a 5-year project, and it certainly allowed us to hire a staff or augment our staff with several engineers. We're only in year 1 of that program right now, so that staff is fully engaged for a while to make sure that the system up there is implemented properly. But certainly as the government funding starts to wane, I think the private industry is going to have to step up and make their own investments, which we're certainly prepared to do.
So from a competitive standpoint, what else are you seeing in the market?
Certainly there's a lot of standards bodies and alliances forming to make sure that their protocol that maybe it's been proprietary over the last few years, doesn't get left behind. So the Open ADR Alliance, I think, is a good example. Open ADR has been used in California for many years, but it really wasn't part of a standard or a standards body. So the alliance was formed last year. They quickly put out RFPs to get bids on running the certification tests and developing tools, and we were lucky to get the tool development. And I think we're seeing that with a lot of alliances or protocols, I should say, that they want to develop standardized ways of testing and programs to make sure that their protocol is used beyond their domain today and nationally or internationally.
And so what's next for your company?
We are continuing to look at the protocols that are going to be used in the grid. I think NIST identified about 120 that they thought were going to be important in their first report that was issued. So we're going to continue to look at protocols that are going to be important in the grid and develop test solutions that help device manufacturers make sure they produce interoperable products.
Great. Thanks for being on the program.
Thank you very much, Rich.